Hello everyone. So as you all know that in the previous part we have discussed 10 questions of your question set, and in today's part we will try to finish that, but most probably we will finish 15 questions and rest 10 questions will come in the next part. Okay. So here we have got the 11th question. So let's see. The question is asking a circular loop of radius r carrying current I lies in xy plane with its center at origin. Total magnetic flux through the xy plane is. So basically we need to find out the total magnetic flux through the xy plane, which is a part of the circular loop. Now this is important. Okay, so let me draw the diagram first so that it will be clear to all of you. Now suppose this is the circular loop. Okay, let me draw it clearly. Yes, this is a circular loop. This is, suppose this is x-axis, this is y-axis. The center of the circular loop is at the center of the coordinate axis as well, as it is given. Next part is saying the total magnetic flux through the xy plane. That means we need to find out the flux through this part only. Getting my point? We don't need to find out the flux for total circular part. We need to find out up to this portion. Okay, that is in the xy plane. Now, it is given that the current passing through the circular current carrying or circular loop is I. You can take it in either direction. You can take it in this direction or in this direction. In whichever direction you take the current, that doesn't matter actually. We need to find out the magnetic lines, because we know that the magnetic flux is given by dot product of magnetic field vector and area vector. Right? So basically, theoretically we can say the number of magnetic lines of force crossing per unit area. Right? That gives us the idea of magnetic flux. Okay. So for that thing, when you will consider the surface of circular loop, you can see by applying right hand thumb rule, you can see if the current is going in this direction and you hold the circular part in your right hand, the magnetic field at this point will go into the surface, and at this part it will come out. Okay, so these are the two directions of magnetic field in the xy plane. So just mark this portion. Whatever amount of lines of force are entering to the plane, same amount of lines of force are crossing out of the plane also. Getting my point? Whichever lines of force are getting inside, the same lines of force are coming in this direction outside also. Right? So number of lines of force entering to the plane is equal to the number of lines of force coming out of the plane. So the total number of magnetic lines of force crossing the area of xy plane will be equal to 0, and hence we can say the net flux through the xy plane because of the circular loop will be equal to 0. So from the options, as you can see, option D is the correct one. Now this is the answer to this question. I hope 11th question is clear to all of you. Now we are having the 12th question. So let's see what is it. It is saying a proton, deuteron and an alpha particle having the same kinetic energy are moving in circular trajectories in a constant magnetic field. All the three particles I can see, proton, deuteron and alpha particle, are moving in a magnetic field in circular trajectories. Okay, clear? If Rp, Rd and R alpha, Rp, Rd and R alpha denote respectively the radii of the trajectories of the particles, then there are four options in which it is asking what is the relationship between the three radii. Okay, so for that thing, just consider the first point everyone. It is saying that all the three particles are moving in circular orbits in a constant magnetic field. That means the particles are moving in the circular path Because of the magnetic force acting on them, right? So we can say the magnetic force is letting the particles to move in that circular path. So we can say that the magnetic force acting on each charged particle, whether it is proton, deuteron or alpha particle, is equal to QB. This must be equal to the force which is letting the particles to move in the circular orbit. That is nothing but the centrifugal force. So I can write it as, if V is the velocity with which the particles are moving, and in general we are taking R as the radius of the circular trajectory, then I can write QB is equal to mv square upon R. This is the centripetal force, this is the magnetic force. Now from this expression I can write, okay, so now see, I'm sorry, this is QVB, not QB, this is QVB, the magnetic Lorentz force actually. So from this expression, I can write, by cancelling one V on either side, QV is equal to mV upon R, or simply I can write R equal to mV upon QB. Okay, now this expression we got for the radii of the particles. Now it is saying that they are moving in same kinetic energy. That is also a key point for this question, everyone, that the particles are moving with same kinetic energy. So for that thing, see this expression, kinetic energy, we can write it as P square upon 2m, right? This expression can be written as P by QB, right? From this expression we can get, that implies P equal to, that is linear momentum is equal to square root of 2m times the kinetic energy, right? Now if I put this value in this expression, I can write the radius as the square root of 2m times kinetic energy divided by QB. Okay, clear? Now just mark this expression. R is equal to square root of 2m kinetic energy divided by QB. It is moving in constant magnetic field. It is moving with same kinetic energy. So all these factors are constant. So also this number 2 is also constant. Only the variables in this expression is mass of the particle and charge of the particle. So we can say that this radius of curvature, radius of the circular path is proportional to square root of mass divided by charge of the particle. Okay. Now this is the relation using which we can find out the relationship between the three radii. Clear? Okay. So for calculating this, or to know the relation between the radii, we need to find out, first of all we should know the mass and the charge of each three particles. So let me write it here. Mass of proton. So mass of proton, we know in terms of atomic mass unit is 1 atomic mass unit. Mass of deuteron is 2 atomic mass unit. Mass of alpha particle is 4 atomic mass unit. Next part, we should know the charges as well. So that is 1 for proton. Deuteron, that is equal to also 1. And for this alpha particle, that is equal to 2. Okay, clear? So now you can see, we just need to take the, we should put all the values in this expression so that we can get the correct relation. So first of all, for proton, I can write it as 1 upon 1, that will be this square root of 1 divided by 1, that is equal to 1. Similarly, R, next thing is deuteron, that is equal to 2 by 1, so that is equal to root 2. root 2. Next thing we are having r alpha, that is equal to 4 by 2. So that will be equal to 2 by 2, which is equal to 1. Okay. So from these things you can see radius of proton is same as radius of alpha particle, whereas radius of deuteron is coming as root 2. So we can write r proton is equal to r alpha, and they are less than the radius of the deuteron. Okay, clear? So this is similar with option A. So this is the correct answer for this question. Okay. So now we are having the 13th question, everyone. As you can see, it is saying yes, two long conductors separated by a distance d. Two long conductors separated by a distance d carry currents I1 and I2 in the same direction. Okay, first they are carrying the current in the same direction, separated by a distance d in between them. They exert a force F on each other. Now the current in one wire is increased to 2 times and its direction is reversed. Okay, so in the first case the currents are in the same direction. In the second case, one of the wire carrying the current twice that in the earlier case, and also the direction is getting reversed. So now it is asking if the distance between them is increasing to 3 times of the earlier distance, then what is the value of force acting between the wires or between the conductors in the second case. Okay. So see everyone, now suppose these are the two conductors having distance d between them. Here the current is I1, here the current is I2. They are moving in the same direction. So we know that the force acting between these two wires, that can be given by mu naught I1 I2 L. What is L? L is the length of the two wires. Okay. Divided by 2 pi d, where d is the separation between the two conductors. Now this is the working formula for force acting between these two conductors. Now see, we know that whenever the conductors are parallel and they are carrying current in same direction, the force acting between these two wires will be attractive in nature, right? They will attract each other. Clear? Okay. Now the second part, it is saying that in one of the wires, the current is reversed and also increased to twice. So like in the first conductor, the current is reversed and the value of current in the conductor is 2I1. In the second conductor, it is I2 going in the same direction as in the previous case. And also this distance is increased to 3 times of the earlier distance. Okay. So now whatever amount of force will act, that we will need to find it out. So let it be F dash. What will be the amount of force? That will be equal to mu naught 2I1 I2 L divided by 2 pi 3d. Okay, clear? And also we can put there a negative sign, because in this case the force are acting in repulsive manner. That means they are repelling each other. So we can take this force as negative 1, or else if you take this force, attractive force is negative and this force will be positive. Okay, because the nature of the two forces are different. Okay, so now if I just rearrange this expression, I can write it as minus, okay, so see, that will be equal to mu naught I1 I2 L divided by 2 pi d, and I can multiply it with 2 by 3 extra, right? 2 by 3, so here also we are getting 2 by 3. Now this expression is nothing but the expression for the initial force which is acting between the conductors when the currents are in the same direction. So I can write it as 2 by 3 F. Okay. So now F dash is coming as minus 2 by 3 F. So yes, as you can see, this is the correct option and this is the answer for this question. Okay, so now we are going to discuss this 14th question. It is saying if a current is passed through a spring, then the spring will behave in which manner? That is the question basically. So see, we need to consider a spring, right? So the spring is in this format. This will be the form of a spring, or if you see vertically, that will be in this manner, right? So there are like one by one circles we can imagine for a spring, and it is saying that the current is passing through the spring. So when the current is going in this direction, at the second path also this is going in this direction, again this is going in this direction, again this is going in this direction. Or here also you can see at this point in each turn the current is going in the same direction, right? Going in this way, again this way. See, now this is the pattern of current in a spring. That means in consecutive circular turns of a spring, the currents are moving in the same direction. And we know when the currents are moving in the same direction, they will attract each other. Right, just in the previous example as we have discussed, when the currents are going in the same direction, they will attract, or the force acting between two conductors will be attractive. In the similar manner, you can see here also these two consecutive springs, circular turns of the spring will attract each other. Since they are attracting each other, we can say when the current is passing through the spring will be compressed. Okay. Now this is the answer for this question, that the spring will be compressed. Okay. Next we will go to the 15th question. It is saying a magnetic needle lying parallel to the magnetic field requires W units of work to turn it through 60 degrees. Okay. Now see, this is saying that a magnetic needle is lying parallel to the magnetic field. Okay. And it requires W units of work to turn the needle through 60 degrees. That means work done by the magnetic field, we can write it as M dot B. That means the magnetic moment dot magnetic field vector. And since they are saying that they are having W units of work to turn it through 60 degrees. So this will be equal to MB cos 60 degrees. Okay. So that is equal to half MB. Now this is the amount of work done by the magnetic field on the magnetic needle. Next part, the torque needed to maintain the needle in this position will be how much? So we know that the torque acting on the needle when it is placed in a magnetic field can be given by M cross B vector, right? That will be equal to MB sin 60 and that will be equal to root 3 by 2 MD. Okay. Now you compare this torque with this work done. You can see this is nothing but this amount 1 by 2 MB is nothing but the work done. So we can write torque or the torque acting on the needle to maintain that in the similar position will be equal to root 3 times the work done. Okay. So for this thing, now this is the correct option or the correct answer to this question. Okay. Now we are having 16th question with us. It is saying a magnetic needle is kept in a non-uniform magnetic field Okay, so basically the magnetic needle is in a non-uniform magnetic field. Then what impact it will get it on? So the thing is, whenever a needle is in a magnetic field and it's a non-uniform magnetic field, whatever the magnetic force will act on the needle, that will be along different lines of action. Just like you can just see, if this is the magnetic needle placed in a non-uniform magnetic field, then one force will act in this direction and another force will act in this direction. So they are not having the same line of action, and because of that they are having the force as well as this couple of force will produce the torque. Okay, so the answer to this question is yes, option C, that it will experience the force as well as the torque. Okay, clear? So just let me clear it out so that we can go for the next question. Okay. Anyway, so the next question, the 17th one, it is saying a coil having 500 square loops, right? 500 square loops of side 10 centimeter is placed normal to the magnetic flux, which increases at a rate of 1 Tesla per second. The coil is having 500 turns. The loop is a square. It's having the side as 10 centimeter and the flux is increases at a rate of 1 Tesla per second. Then it is asking what is the value of induced EMF. Now see, number of turns is equal to 500. Okay, and it's a square loop. Side of the square loop is 10 centimeter, or you can write 10 to the power minus 2. See, this is 10 centimeter, right? So that will be equal to, yes, 10 to the power minus 2 meter. Okay. So next part is, we can write it as, okay, let me write it in this way, that is 0.1 meter, because it is 10, so that will be 0.1 meter indirectly. Next part is, the flux is changing with, in a rate of 1 Tesla per second. That means it is giving us d phi by dt. The rate of change of flux is equal to 1 Tesla per second. Clear? Now the thing is, we need to find out the induced EMF, which is given by E is equal to minus n d phi by dt, or simply we can take the magnitude part only, n d phi by dt. And we know that phi is nothing but phi is equal to b dot a, right? So for that thing, while taking d phi by dt, that will be equal to d by dt of the magnetic flux, that is b dot a, right? So now I can write it as, from this part, NA dB upon dt, right? So the thing is, we are having this value as okay, now we have the number of turns, we have d phi by dt. Okay, next part is, we just have to find out the area of the loop we are considering. Okay, so for that thing, this is a square loop, right? This is the loop, this is L, this is L, so L square will be the area. So that for that thing, the area of the loop will be 0.1 square or meter square. So that will be 10 to the power minus 2 meter square. Okay. So now see, number of turns is 500, area is 10 to the power minus 2, and the rate of change of magnetic flux is equal to 1. So now this is coming as, yes, 5 volt. Okay. So here you can see option D is the correct answer for this question. Okay. Now we're going to discuss 18th question, all of you. It is saying, if L equal equal to 100 microhenry, current changes by 1 ampere in 0.1 second, then what is the EMF produced in that circuit? So basically, inductance is given to us, that is 100 microhenry. Current is given by the change in current given by 1 ampere. Time is given by 0.1 second. That means in 0.1 second the current is changed by 1 ampere. Now it is asking the EMF, and we know that EMF is equal to L di by dt. Correct? So 100 into 10 to the power minus 6, because that is given as microhenry, into the rate of change of current, that is 1 ampere in 0.1 second. So that will be 1 by 0.1. Okay? Or simply we can write it as 100 into 10 to the power minus 6 into 10. Okay? So that will be equal to 10 to the power minus 3 volt, or we can write it as 1 millivolt. Okay? So from the options, this is the correct option or the answer for this question. Okay? I think it is clear. Now we will move to the next question. That is, as you can see, it is saying the magnetic flux linked with the coil varies with time as this. Okay. The magnetic flux is varying as 5t square plus 3t plus 16. Then the induced EMF in the 4th second will be how much? So first of all, just understand this thing, 4th second. 4th second means, that doesn't mean t equal to 4 seconds we can put. No. 4th second means, now suppose this is t equal to 1 second, t equal to 2 seconds, t equal to 3 seconds, t equal to 4 seconds. Now we are observing the change from the beginning, so we can take also t equal to 0 second. If this is the case, then I can write, 1 second, yes. See, this time interval between t equal to 0 second to t equal to 1 second as the first second. Okay. Now for 1 second to 2 second interval will be known as the second second. Similarly, for 2 second to 3 second will be known as third second, and the last, this part will be known as the 4th second. Okay, clear? So for this thing, we need to find out, the question is asking the induced EMF in the 4th second. That means we need to find out the EMF induced in the time interval of this, that is t equal to 3 seconds to t equal to 4 seconds. Okay, so let's see. As you can see, the flux is varying with the expression with time as phi is equal to 5t square plus 3t plus 16. Now the variation can be given by d phi by dt is equal to okay, so that will be 10t plus 3. Now this part, that is d phi by dt at t equal to 3 seconds will be equal to, in place of t we need to put 3, so that will be 33 seconds. Okay, clear? Next part is, okay, next part is we need to find out d phi by dt with respect to t equal to 4 seconds. Okay, so that will be equal to, in place by putting t equal to 4 here, we can get t equal to 43, I'm sorry, this is not second, this is Weber per second. Here also that will be Weber per second, or indirectly we can write it as, since we are finding out EMF, I can put a negative sign here, that will be E equal to minus d phi by dt. So in the whole expression we can put a negative sign. Okay, so for this thing at E at t equal to 3 seconds will be minus 33 volt, and similarly E at t equal to 4 seconds will be equal to minus 43 volt. Okay. Our job is to find out the difference in the two. Okay, the induced EMF in the 4th second. So I can write EMF in the 4th second is equal to minus 43 minus of minus 33 volt. Okay, clear? Just the difference of these two values. So that will come up as, that will be minus 43 plus 33, so that will be minus 10 volt. But we need to find out the direction only, so we can write E mod is equal to 10 volt. Okay, clear? So this will be the correct answer to this question. Okay, so I hope the previous question is clear to all of you. Now we are having the 20th question with us, and it is saying in a series LCR circuit, the voltage across R is 100 volt and resistance R is equal to 1 kilo ohm, capacitance equal to 2 microfarad. Okay, the resonance frequency is 200 radian per second. Then at resonance, the voltage across L, that means voltage across inductor, is what? Okay. So first of all, as you can see, the voltage across R, that means across the resistance, is given as 100 volt. Resistance is 1 kilo ohm, capacitance is 2 microfarad, and the resonant frequency is given as 200 radian per second. So it is asking what is the voltage across the inductor at resonance. Okay. So we know at resonance the capacitive reactance is equal to the inductive reactance, right? So I can write it here as omega L will be equal to 1 upon omega C, right? Or simply, since we are having the capacitance, I can write it as that will be equal to 1 by omega C, right? Or that will be equal to 1 by omega is 200, that is the resonant frequency, and capacitance is 2 microfarad, that is 2 into 10 to the power minus 6 farad. Okay, so the value of this will come up as you can see, that will be 10 to the power, this is minus 6, and again here we are having 100. So that will be 10 to the power 4 divided by 4, or simply we can write it as 0.25 into 10 to the power 4, or that will be 2500 ohm. Okay, now this is the inductive reactance. Now the current, okay, we don't know the value of current. Since all the components are in series, whatever amount of current is passing through the resistance, same current will pass through the capacitance and also the inductor. Okay, so for that thing I can write I, the current, is equal to V by R, simply by using Ohm's law. Okay, so voltage across the resistance or resistor is 100. Okay, divided by the resistance is 1 kilo ohm, that means I can write in 1000. So that coming up as the current is coming up as 0.1 ampere. Okay, 1 by 10 or 0.1 ampere. Now see, we are having the current, we are having the resistance or the inductive reactance across the inductor. Now by simply just using the resemblance of Ohm's law, the voltage across the inductor VL, that will be equal to IXL. Okay, so that is 0.1 into 2500, that will be equal to 250 volt. Okay, so yes, as you can see, option B is the correct answer for this question. Okay, clear all of you? Let's move to the next question. As you can see here, this question is saying, again a series combination of LCR circuit type of question. the value of L, C and R for a circuit by EMF or like we can say the voltage or the EMF is 220 sin 100 pi t volt and is applied over a resistance of 110 ohm. Resistance is given to us and the EMF of the circuit is given to us. The heat produced in 7 minutes is, okay, so we need to find out the amount of heat produced in the series circuit in the provided condition. Okay, so first of all, we know by the Joule's law of heating, we know, okay, let me change the marker please. Yes, see, we know by Joule's heating effect, H is equal to I square RT, or simply we can say, since we do not have the value of current, we can use the value of voltage here. So that will be equal to V square R, V square T by R. Okay, clear? Next thing is the options. As you can see, all the options are given in Kelvin. So whatever amount of heat we will get, that will be in electron volt. So in order to provide that answer in Kelvin, we need to divide the value of joule, that is 1 joule. Okay, so now we just have to put all the values. Now this is V, and here in the given expression we are having this value as the V RMS, right? So V RMS is nothing but V0 by root 2. So we just have to put that value as, that will be 220 by root 2. Okay, because heat is produced by the average value of voltage or the RMS value of voltage. So because here we are using that RMS value, and here we are having V0 as 220. So we can write V RMS as V0 by root 2. So this expression is coming as 220 by root 2. T is given as 7 minutes, so we can convert it into second, that is 7 into 60 second, divided by resistance is given to us as 110 ohm, and 1 joule that we know, that is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 electron volt. Okay, so now by solving this thing, let me solve it in the upper part. See, I can write it in this part, this way, and that is 220 into 220 into 420 divided by 2 into 110, and that will be, okay, we need to convert it into calorie. So that will be 1 calorie is equal to 4.2 joule. So for that thing, that will be equal to not 1. This thing will be 4.2 calorie. So that is like I can write 42 into 10. Okay, clear? So in this way you can see this part will be cancelled, and again we can cancel this with 2. So this 2 will be also be cancelled. That will be 20. Okay, and this, there is one more 10 is there. Okay, so that will be 220 into 10 to the power 2, or we can write it as 22 into 10 to the power 3 calorie. Okay, so now comparing with the options, this is coming as the correct option.